What is up? What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, it's your boy, Pip Killer 94. And we are going to do a video that we did last year. But this time, we're going to go a little bit more in onto it because last year it was actually well received. I got some really good feedback on it. So this year, we are going to go ahead and predict potential surprise entries in the Royal Rumble. But we're going to do two separate videos for the men and the women. Last year we did them combined. This year we're going to do one for each. And in doing so, we're going to expand. The Royal Rumble has 30 entrants. And so we're going to give you 30 potential surprise entries in both Rumbles. I just want to preface, this is not like a prediction that they will be. Obviously, we're not going to get 30 surprises in both. We've already had a couple announced for the women's and a plethora of announced for the men's. This is just a nice 30 because the Rumble has 30 of possible entries. And we're going to do the same categories we did last year. So just to go over those, we got NXT Call Ups, whether it just be for the night or long term. We got returns or debuts to the company. We got non-in-ring competitors. That'll get explained. We got legends. We have TNA Partnership, which last year was speculatory. This year is pretty much confirmed. And then we have returns from hiatus and or injury. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. We're going to do the women's video for this one. And we're going to start with the NXT call-ups. Now, I'm going to go from most likely to least likely for these call-ups, okay? We got 10 NXT call-ups. 10. Actually, you know what? Let's go least likely to most likely for these NXT call-ups. So, at number 1, I've got Miko Satomura. And the reason I have her, I could see them giving her a nice little spot. She's already pretty much announced that she will be retiring from pro wrestling in about 3 months. She's a legend. She's been doing this for a very long time. She hasn't had any main roster appearances, but she was the NXT UK champion for a while. She's had some amazing matches. And I think that they might want to give her last hurrah, her send off, whatever it may be. So I'm going to put her at number 10, or I guess number 1 for NXT call-ups. Number 2, I got the current NXT Women's Champion, Julia. The only reason I have her really low is because she is the current NXT Women's Champion, and I don't know if they're going to want to include their current champions in the Rumble in terms of NXT. And we'll talk about that on the men's side, but I don't, spoiler, I don't include Obafemi on the men's side. But I think for the women's side, they have a lot more that they could try and flesh out. And they have, in NXT alone, arguably the most stacked women's roster in all of pro wrestling. And so featuring your women's champion might not be a bad choice. So I'm going to put Julia at number 2. Sticking with the powerhouse roster on the women's side of NXT and the recent additions, at number 3, I have Zarya, formerly known as Delta. She's got this tag team going on with Sol Ruka right now. I could see some interesting things for Zarya, and she could be a great entry as like a powerhouse that, kind of gets most elims. And obviously we got people like Bianca and things like that. But I just think it's very, very real that Zarya could be a great addition to this Rumble. So I got her at number 3. And then at 4, the final of this new crop of women's wrestlers in NXT, I got Stephanie Vecchia. I know she's the number 1 contender for the North American Women's Championship, but she could easily appear in this Rumble. I do have other options that I think are more likely, but I think Stephanie Vaquer would be a great representative of NXT. So I've got her at 4. At 5, I've got Kalani Jordan. I think that she's got this interesting character going on where she could be maybe teasing a little bit of a heel turn. She's got this more ruthless side, and I think she could really benefit from a potential Rumble spot. And they seem to really trust her. They made her the inaugural North American Women's Champion. So I got her at 5. At 6, for these call ups, I've got Lola Vice. NXT is clearly high on Lola Vice, which means WWE is clearly high on Lola Vice. And I could see a very realistic world where she gets a nod to join in this Rumble match and show what she's capable of. I don't know for sure. I could see her doing this in conjunction with some of these other potential call-ups, especially one we'll get to in a couple more names. But I think Lola Vice would be a good choice. Again, another option to be a powerhouse with multiple elims. So I got Lola Vice at 6. At 7, I got Lash Legend. I think the Metaphor Girls have been really touted across all of WWE's women's division. But I think that they are much higher on Lash Legend than they are Jakara Jackson. I don't think that that's necessarily fair. I haven't seen a lot of Jakara Jackson, so I don't know necessarily what she's capable of, but it feels like WWE and NXT have big plans for Lash Legend, and getting her another main roster spot, maybe a spot with, Naomi or Bianca Belair in, the Rumble, trying to say something about the tag titles. I think Lash Legend is a very, very realistic option. Now, at number 8, I got Cora Jade. Now, I will say the reason I have her so high up is because of another person we will talk about way later. So just remember this mental note. Remember this for later. I have the thought process that Cora Jade could be in this Rumble to progress multiple storylines, and we'll talk about this later, but I think she's a very real option to be in this Rumble. At number 9, my second most likely NXT call up in here, I got Jada Parker. They have been pushing her to the moon in the NXT women's division, giving her big wins, big moments, and I think they are really high on her, and I think she could have a great run in the Rumble. And she's got history with Lola Vice. She's got history with some other NXT women. I think it could be fun. So I got Jada Parker at 9. And then at 10, my most likely NXT call-up Rumble entrant. It's damn near a guarantee at this point. I got Roxanne Perez. I think we all know she's going to be in the Rumble. She's probably moving to the main roster permanently going forward. She's the greatest NXT Women's Champion probably ever. And it's time to bring her up to the main roster. And she's so young that I could easily see her being a mainstay in this Rumble for a good chunk of it. She's got some on-screen rivalries going on with main event people like Bayley. So expect to see her and Bayley interact in this Rumble. I think it could be really fun. So I got Roxanne Perez rounding out my NXT call-ups as my most likely. And I think that out of all of them, Roxanne Perez is a damn near guarantee. So let's move on. The next section we're going to go over is the returns and or debuts to the company. I don't think we have a lot of them. I really don't. I think we only actually have one major return / debut to the company, and it's a return to the company, and it's Becky Lynch. I think Becky Lynch is super likely to be in this Rumble. I think there's a very real chance she appears, and I think she could arguably be a favorite to win if she does show up. I don't see a world where if they're getting her in talks to come back, they don't put her in this Rumble and try and start setting up her WrestleMania program with whoever it may be. And the prospect of her potentially having a match with Tiffany Stratton after their NXT program could be really fun. So, but she's my only like return slash debut, with exception. I do have one person that I'll talk about later, and I'll let you guys know when, that I think this will act as a debut for them. But we'll get there. Let's move on. While we're talking about single person categories, I also have a single entry in the non in ring competitors. So this is a spot I have kind of for like commentators, celebrities, stuff like that. I don't think this is super likely at all, but I just wanted to include it just because I'd kick myself if I didn't say it. I see a world where Vanessa Hudgens might make an entry in this Rumble just because of all the multitude of appearances she's been making on WWE programming, their YouTube channel, all kinds of stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave her a little spot in the Rumble, um, protected her, maybe had her eliminate herself, like, a la Drew Carey back in the 90s, 2000, early 2000s time frame. Michael Cole in the early 2010s. But I just wanted to include her. I have a better list of non in ring competitors for the men's side, but I just wanted to include something here. And Vanessa Hudgens has been featured so heavily on WWE programming recently that I could see this as a very realistic option. Um, let's move on to the next category. We've got 8 names in this category for the Legends appearances. Um, most, if not all, of these, if they were to happen, would probably be one-offs. Some of them could lead to some stories going forward, but we'll see. That's assuming any of them actually show up. Let's start with the least likely. At number 1, we've got Tamina. She is still technically with the company under a pseudo Legends kind of contract. She never really got her proper send off. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with The Rock as the TKO board member and whatnot, getting family member Tamina a proper send off, so to speak. So I could see her in the Rumble. I don't think she'll be in it, but it's possible. At number 2, one that I would really like to see, but I just, until I get more information on why I would, I don't think that there's any reason to expect it. And that being Gail Kim. I think that Gail Kim is a legend. She should be treated as a legend. She is a TNA Hall of Famer. And maybe with this TNA partnership, she could make an appearance here. And I think she deserves her flowers for her contributions to the women's division of pro wrestling in general. But I just don't see it. I wanted to include her because there's been talks about her and whatnot, but I don't have it as a likely thing. At number 3, slightly more likely, but pretty much all the same things I had to say. I just don't see it, but I would be remiss if I didn't include it, and I would love to see it. AJ Lee. Her husband, CM Punk, and he'll be mentioned quite a bit in the other video on the channel. I think there's been plenty of videos where they're wrestling around together. She clearly is still in ring shape. She's done some stuff in other promotions recently, not like matches as far as I know, but appearances, some bumps here and there. She's clearly still in ring condition. Strike while the iron's hot. This is going to be the year of Punk, in my opinion. If Punk's going to have another year in WWE, like a year of Punk, this is going to be it. So, I'd have AJ Lee in this Rumble if you can. We'll see if she agrees to, though. Up next at number 4, I got Mickie James. I love Mickie James. She was one of the mainstays of my childhood in pro wrestling. She kind of bridged the gap for TNA to have appearances in the Rumble. She was the first, like, TNA Knockouts champion to appear in a Rumble. We had one last year, and we'll talk about her later. Spoiler alert. But Mickie James, I think she's very possible, especially her having a foot in the door because of her husband, Nick Aldis, being the SmackDown general manager. Could be really fun to get her maybe even making a little part-time run again. And she has history with some of the people we're going to talk about here in a second. So I got Mickey James at 4. I don't think it's super high up, but I'd love to see it nonetheless. At number 5, I got Lita. I love Lita. She was probably my favorite women's wrestler growing up until everything happened between her and Matt Hardy. And then she was the most hated women's wrestler on the planet, but that's because she was amazing at being a heel. And then she came back years later and she was amazing at being a face, and she's one of the most dynamic women's wrestlers of all time. And she kind of just got like written off last year after her little program with the women's tag titles, and it was just a disappointing conclusion for her. And I wouldn't mind if they brought her back for this Rumble. Maybe a short program, but I doubt it. And if she were to have a program, I think it would be with number 6 on this list, Trish Stratus. She has unfinished business with a Becky Lynch, with a Lita. If you remember, she's the one that took out Lita for that program last year or the year before. I don't remember when it was, actually. I think it was last year. So I think Trish Stratus is very possible, and it would be insane to not include her, just because of her star power, name value alone. Up next, I'm gonna skip number 7 and say number 8 as who's my most likely, because number 7 I have in here because of number 8. So I'll just say them together, 7 and 8. I got Cool. I got Layla and Michelle McCool. Michelle McCool being my most likely. She's constantly in these circles. She's in phenomenal shape for somebody who's been, effectively speaking, out of wrestling for a decade. And Layla rumors have been circulating. I think that there could be a connection. Why not bring in the other half of Cool? I think it'd be a really fun moment. So I've got Layla at 7 and Michelle McCool as my most likely legend return for this match. Let's move on to our TNA Partnership category. I got 4 names in here. One of them we already referenced to. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's a surprise. We'll just get her out of the way. It's Jordynne Grace. And this is the name I was also referring to earlier as a debut potential. I think Jordynne Grace is probably done in TNA. I think that this is going to be her official debut in the WWE. But it still will feel like a TNA partnership. They're going to mention everything she's done in TNA because of this new working relationship. She might even keep her TNA theme song. So she's our clear and obvious most likely answer. Now let's talk about the other 3, and we'll do them from least likely to most. At number 1, I got Tessa Blanchard. The reason that I am including her is because she is such a big name in the women's wrestling community. She is somebody that they're going to want to build around in TNA, and they might want to advertise and try and get that WWE magic with. She's a former TNA World Champion, not a TNA Knockout Champion, a TNA World Champion. I need people to understand that. She won the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. The only woman to do so, as far as I know. And I'm pretty sure the only woman to win a major world championship, men's world championship, in a major promotion being WWE, TNA, AEW, WCW, or at least American. I can't speak to Japanese wrestling as much. But I have her as my least likely because there's still just so much dark clouds hanging over her name with all the allegations of bullying and harassment and racism and horrible, horrible things that I'm not going to speak to because I don't know all the facts. If the allegations are true, obviously WWE would not want to associate with her. But if she's been able to wash the stink off of her name, so to speak, then maybe maybe she has a place in this Rumble, or if not, maybe next year's, if she can continue to rebuild her reputation. At number 2, I got Rosemary. I think that she's got a great relationship with WWE already. She's appeared on NXT a couple times this year. And she's a mainstay in the TNA Knockouts division. And they may want to feature her as a potential person to continue to cross over, to cross the line, if you will, between TNA, NXT, WWE. I think Rosemary is a great option. I think that she's a very realistic answer, and I think you should keep an eye out for her. And at number 1, other than Jordan Grace, obviously, is the current TNA Knockouts champion, Masha Slamovich. She's so heavily featured. She's the one that took the title off of Jordan Grace, who was the champion last year that appeared in the Rumble. And she's got a current feud starting with Cora Jade, which we talked about earlier. So I could very easily, very, very easily see Masha Slamovich being this name that they have show up in the Rumble, build this story with Cora Jade, build this story with WWE and TNA's partnership, NXT TNA, or NXTNA, if that's what they want to start doing. I liked that when they were talking like that last year. But I think Masha Slamovich is a very, very realistic answer, and one of the most likely names I've said in this entire list so far, aside from Roxanne Perez, Becky Lynch, and Jordan Grace. But I would definitely bet on Masha Slamovich being in this match. And for our final category, we've got returns from hiatus / injury. We've got 6 names here. This will round out our 30 names total. We'll go ahead and get the obvious answer out of the way. Charlotte Flair. She's damn near been confirmed, as these vignettes on SmackDown have been happening. And she's probably a front runner to win. It's probably a very realistic possibility. So let's just get her out of the way. Charlotte Flair, very, very likely to be returning in this. Now let's talk about the other 5 names. Least likely, but possible. I've got Carmella. If you have been following what's going on in the WWE, you'll know that there's been some drama with her husband, Corey Graves. We'll see how all that plays out. That's actually something I'll probably talk about. If you watch the men's Rumble video, go check it out, but she's been on maternity leave for a while. It might be time for her to make her return. We'll see. Up next, I kind of have in the same spot, are both of the Kabuki Warriors, Kairi Sane and Asuka. If I had to put one as slightly more likely, I guess I would say Asuka. But I could very much see a entire Damage Control, Asuka, Kairi Sane, Dakota Kai, Io Sky reunion in this Rumble. So I've got Kairi Sane and Asuka both right here. And then after that, as my second most likely return in this Rumble, ignoring the whole Charlotte Flair being the obvious answer, I've got Alexa Bliss. It's been 2 years. It'll have been over 2 years since her last match by the time the Royal Rumble reaches us. And I think that it would be crazy to not predict her to come back at this point. Do I think she wins? No, I don't. But I think she has a good showing. The biggest question is, do we get the goddess Alexa Bliss? Do we get spooky, Bray Wyatt infused Alexa Bliss? Or do we get something new? That I can't predict, but I definitely think that we get Alexa Bliss in this match. And then our final potential surprise entrant, I think it's a pretty damn sure to be in the Rumble. We got Jade Cargill. I think she comes back. She sets up her probably WrestleMania match with Bianca, and we start building towards that. I got Jade Cargill. I think she's pretty much a shoo-in for this. But that's going to do it. that is it for the women's side of the potential surprise entrance for the Royal Rumble. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys think I missed any names. Let me know if you guys think any of these names are just completely insane to include, like Vanessa Hudgens or Tamina or Tessa Blanchard for that matter. Let me know if you guys think any of my potential answers were interesting but actually made sense to you. And make sure to go check out our men's Royal Rumble potential surprise entrance video. We also have a video going out predicting the Royal Rumble, where this champion, or not the Royal Rumble, the Saturday Night's Main Event, where this championship will be on the line as we do predictions against my girlfriend Taylor. So that'll be fun. So go check that out. Let us know what you guys think about that. Check out the men's Rumble video. Let us know how you feel about this one. And with all that being said, as always, I am Pip. Y'all are the greatest. And when in doubt, we'll see you next time.